Gauteng appears to be slowly winning the battle against the third wave of COVID-19 infections. In the past day, 5,683 new cases have been recorded countrywide. 27% of this daily tally has been recorded in Gauteng. In a bid to ramp up vaccinations, the province is expanding its vaccination sites. As part of the rollout plan, Premier David Makhura is inspecting the Witkoppen clinic site this morning. Our reporter Aviwe Mtila is on the story. Aviwe, I think a lot of people, given the mass looting gatherings, thought that we would see an uptick in COVID-19 numbers in Gauteng. So the numbers we're seeing now, are they a true reflection of what's happening in the province with COVID-19?
Well, those are some of the questions that we'll have to pose here to Premier Makhura as he visits the Witkoppen clinic here. You'd understand it's one of the 600 vaccination sites, both in public and private hospitals around Gauteng. But just to get more now, I am joined by the Premier, David Makhura. Premier, thank you for joining us at eNCA. But let's start with those numbers that we're seeing in COVID-19. It seems like they're going down in Gauteng. Is this a suggestion that we're out of the third wave?
By all accounts and all indications, Gauteng province and one can also say the country has peaked quite substantially. The infection numbers are coming down, but also the hospital admissions as well as those who are succumbing to COVID-19, the positivity rate. So the major indicators to tell us whether we have really peaked are on the positive side. On the positive side means that we welcome these indications. But as we have that, as we have the infection, the number of people who are testing positive coming down, and the number of those who are getting hospitalized coming down, we are concerned about those who may, especially in the course of the unrest, those who may have interacted in significant numbers, and that we will see the following week whether that is going to have an impact in the province. The principal preoccupation of our province now is vaccination. The vaccination drive is what will make the big difference, because that's what we are focusing on now. We have already significantly increased the number of vaccination sites from we were 2.5 weeks ago, we were at about 250 sites. We are now at 660 sites. Significant 60% of those are public sector sites and 40% are in the private sector. We are working in an amazing way in partnership with the religious sector, in partnership with the private sector. We are also rolling out mass vaccination sites that are doing significant number of vaccinations. Witkoppen here, Witkoppen is one of the vaccination sites that are doing extremely well. Over 600 people are getting vaccinated here a day. But let me say that as we move forward, we move into August, September, we want to double the number of vaccinations on all sites. We want to increase the public sector sites to over 500. Currently we have 397 public sector sites. We want to increase them to over 500.
I just want to jump in quickly, Premier, relating to the issue you touched on earlier about the unrest. The President has mentioned some reinforcement, some even ways to deal with the economic ramifications that we saw. You yourself said we're in a deep economic crisis in Gauteng because of what has happened. Are those interventions from the President enough, or what more can be done?
On Thursday, we will have a media briefing specifically on the reconstruction and recovery path of Gauteng. We are doing final consultations with the private sector, small businesses in our townships, and the big corporations in the province. Tomorrow we have the Executive Council. The Provincial Executive Council is meeting tomorrow to consider a plan. This afternoon we have the Command Council, which is also considering what the social as well as the economic interventions at a provincial level is going to be. So we are considering all those in response both to the impact of COVID-19 on our economy and the livelihoods of people, as well as last week's unrest. But as we do all that, we want to focus on ramping up the vaccination program in Gauteng province. That's why I'm saying what we are doing today is just to indicate our key messages. We want to hit 100,000 vaccinations a day in Gauteng province. That's what our target is. Last week we reached 61,000. We want to, every vaccination site is going to double the number of people being vaccinated, but we're also doubling the number of actual vaccination sites. As I said 2 weeks ago, we were at 250 vaccination sites, and we want to reach 500 vaccination sites that are only in the public sector. We are at 397 right now. The private sector is also doing extremely well. The partnerships we are having, some of the vaccinations are going to happen in big locations that the private sector has identified, where we have lots of workers in each sector working, but the religious sector, the faith-based organizations in Gauteng are also offering us. We've got a few drive-through sites that are at the church.
I just want one more issue quickly, Premier, one that talks against the vaccination drive. You're talking to over 10 communities that will be without water for 37 hours. Those are 5,000 households without water, asking them to go to tankers to queue up there for water. Isn't that working against the very COVID-19 pandemic? Surely this is something that you could have planned for.
Yes, certainly. You know that we constantly have the problem of the water problem in our province. It has been happening in the midst of the the COVID pandemic. We've had the problems that Rand Water would report in our municipalities. But as soon as we have that problem, we consult with the relevant authorities. The provincial government would consult either with Rand Water or the relevant municipality to ensure that firstly, there's an immediate intervention about water supply, and then we get to sort out what the problem is. If it's a problem of Rand Water, we work with Rand Water to make sure that that is addressed. The critical thing that we want to do in this period is just to make sure that we vaccinate as many people as possible. I want to thank particularly the younger people who in the age categories of 35 and 49, they have come out in large numbers in the registration drive. There's lots of excitement there. We also have vaccinated pretty well. The good thing is that they are now, we're also seeing some of the 60 years and above who were hesitant. Now coming to the fore.
They're asking me to cut there. That's the Premier David Makhura in Gauteng, just giving an update on the vaccination drive that's happening around the province.
Who were holding back are coming.
Our reporter Aviwe Mtila in Johannesburg.